The fragile threads of love. Isabella had always believed in the power of love. She believed it could conquer anything, mend any wound, and endure any storm. And for a while, it seemed like she was right. Her relationship with Ethan was the kind of love story people dreamed of, a whirlwind romance that felt both timeless and exhilarating. They had met at a bookstore, of all places, reaching for the same novel, their fingers brushing against each other. That moment had sparked a connection that neither of them could ignore. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Late night phone calls that stretched until dawn, spontaneous road trips, and the easy comfort of just being together. Isabella had never felt so alive, so certain that she had found the one person she was meant to be with. But love, as she would soon learn, can be fragile. It started with small things. Ethan becoming distant, distracted, his eyes no longer lighting up when he saw her. Isabella noticed but dismissed it, convincing herself that he was just stressed with work. After all, everyone had rough patches, right? But as the days turned into weeks, the distance between them grew. Ethan would cancel plans at the last minute, claiming exhaustion or unexpected work obligations. Their conversations, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, became stilted, with long silences that felt more like walls being built between them. One evening, as Isabella sat alone in their living room, staring at the untouched dinner she had prepared, she felt a pang of something deep and unsettling. It was a feeling she had been trying to ignore for weeks, but it had become impossible to deny. She picked up her phone, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through their text messages. They were there. Dozens of unread messages, a trail of missed calls. She felt a knot tighten in her stomach, a gnawing sense of dread that she couldn't shake. Finally, she decided to confront him. She couldn't live in this limbo, this space where love felt like it was slipping through her fingers. When Ethan walked through the door that night, his expression was weary, but there was something else there, something she couldn't quite place. She stood up from the couch, her heart pounding in her chest. "Ethan," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "we need to talk." He looked at her, a flicker of guilt crossing his face before he quickly masked it. "Isabella, I'm really tired. Can we talk in the morning?" "No," she said, firmer this time. "We need to talk now." Ethan sighed and rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding her gaze. "Isabella, it's been a rough day. Can't this wait?" Isabella shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "I can't keep pretending everything is okay, Ethan. I know something is wrong. I feel it every time you're with me, but you're not really here. What happened to us?" Ethan's face fell, and for a moment he looked like he might say something, but then he closed his eyes as if trying to gather his thoughts. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "I'm sorry, Isabella. I didn't want it to be like this." Her heart sank. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then looked at her with a mixture of sorrow and regret. "There's someone else." The words hit her like a punch to the gut, knocking the breath out of her. She stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth as if to hold back the sobs that threatened to escape. "No, Ethan, how could you?" Tears streamed down her face as she looked at him, searching for any sign that this was all just a horrible misunderstanding. But there was none. The truth was written all over his face, in the way his shoulders slumped, in the way he couldn't meet her eyes. "I never meant for this to happen," he said, his voice breaking. It happened, and I didn't know how to tell you. I'm so sorry." Isabella's heart shattered into a million pieces. The man she had loved, trusted, and believed in had betrayed her in the worst way possible. "How long?" she managed to ask, her voice trembling. "About 2 months," he admitted, his voice barely audible. 2 months. The realization hit her like a tidal wave. All the time she had sensed something was wrong, all the moments of doubt and confusion, they all made sense now. Ethan had been with someone else, sharing his time, his thoughts, and his affection with another woman, while Isabella had been left alone, trying to hold on to a love that was already slipping away. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why wasn't I enough?" Ethan's eyes filled with tears, and he reached out as if to comfort her, but she stepped back, not wanting to feel his touch. "It wasn't about you not being enough, Isabella. It was never about that. I was just lost. I didn't know what I wanted, and I made a terrible mistake." Isabella shook her head, the pain too much to bear. "You didn't just make a mistake, Ethan. You made a choice, and you chose to betray me." He didn't have an answer for that. He just stood there, looking as broken as she felt, but that did nothing to ease the pain coursing through her. "I can't do this," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I can't stay here and pretend like everything will be okay, because it won't be. You've destroyed everything we had." Ethan's face crumpled, and he reached out again, but Isabella turned away. She couldn't look at him. couldn't bear to see the man she had loved become a stranger. "I'm so sorry," he repeated. But the words felt empty, meaningless. With a heavy heart, Isabella walked out of the room, leaving Ethan behind. The apartment they had shared now felt like a prison, every corner filled with memories of a love that had once been so beautiful, now tainted by betrayal. As she stepped outside, the cool night air hit her face, mingling with the tears that wouldn't stop falling. She felt numb, lost, and utterly alone. But she knew she couldn't stay there, couldn't hold on to something that had already slipped away. She walked, not knowing where she was going, just needing to escape the pain that was consuming her. And as she walked, she felt the fragile threads of love that had once held her together slowly unravel, leaving her exposed, vulnerable, and broken. But even in her heartbreak, there was a small, flickering light of hope, a hope that one day she would heal, that she would find the strength to love again. Because even though she had been betrayed, she knew that love, true love, was still out there, waiting for her to find it. And when she did, she would cherish it, protect it, and never let it slip away. But for now, she would walk this road of heartache alone, knowing that someday the pain would fade and she would emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace the love she deserved.